Go. Hi, Greg Louie. Hi, nice to meet you. Have a seat.
too.
So, how was it getting in today?
Oh, horrible traffic. You just can't get past all the traffic.
Yeah, how about the weather? It's pretty cold out there now.
Horrible. Michigan's weather is just absolutely crap right now. It's not good.
Yeah, so I heard you're in here today for gastric reflux.
Yep, I was diagnosed with gastric reflux about a week or two ago, and I actually am in here too because I'm having heartburn after every single meal I eat.
That sounds like a problem. So
Yes.
today we're gonna go over this and try to help you work through this problem and hopefully get on the other side.
Okay.
So could you please just tell me how your home life is, what you do for work, things like that?
Okay. So basically, I'm an accountant, so I'm not home a lot of the time. I'm going to be at work most of the time, and I'm divorced and have one kid that's in college, so I don't have a lot of time on my hands. And I basically don't get a lot of exercise at all either. So most of my time spent at work sitting behind a desk. So.
Okay, so it sounds like you're very pressed for time during the day. Is that right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So you come in here. Did you get referred by a physician?
Yes, I did get referred by a physician.
Okay, so what are your goals for this session today? What do you want to get out of this?
My goals are basically to stop the heartburn I'm having after every meal, and basically try and help with the gastric reflux I'm having, even though there's not much fixes to that. I would rather have no heartburn after every meal, even though I thought it was harmless, but it might not be.
Okay, so you understand that this gastric reflux is a problem for you and you want to figure it out?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So if you said that gastric reflux, it could be more than just a pain problem, it could have detrimental effects later in life. Okay, so do you know what those are?
I do not.
Okay, so some things that can happen, or what gastric reflux really is the esophagus, there's sphincters that don't close correctly when you're eating, and that allows things to come back up through your esophagus, and that's what you feel in your throat, the acid that's coming back up. Do you think that's a problem, or?
I don't think it's that's much of a problem. It's just mainly after every meal, the heartburn I get from it. After every meal, not really.
So it's really the pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So some things that can happen with gastric reflux if it goes on for a long time is things like, they're more extreme cases, but cancer of the esophagus, things like that. But that's just if it keeps going on, and that's good that you're here now.
Okay, I did not know that.
Okay. So can you tell me about your day of eating, what a normal day looks like for you?
So basically, I'll wake up early in the morning, and I don't have a ton of time to get in any food, so I'll only have a cup of coffee right before I go to work. I won't have anything to eat, and then usually about 4 or 5 hours passes until about around noon, and usually I'm traveling to clients, so I'm not actually in like a stationary place, so I'm usually picking up fast food because I am in a hurry to eat, and then after that I usually won't eat until later at night when I get home around 8 o'clock, and that's usually my last and biggest meal that I have, and then maybe a couple snacks later on in the night as well.
Okay, so it sounds like your day is pretty busy again, just with food as well.
Exactly.
So at breakfast you said you had coffee, is that right?
Yes.
Do you do that for a reason? Have you always done that?
Yeah, I've always had coffee in the morning because sometimes I have a hard time waking up, and I'm usually pretty tired in the morning, so I'll have just a regular cup of black coffee in the morning.
Okay. And then for lunch you said you get fast food. Is that a lot of fast food or a little? Do you get just a dollar menu item?
Usually I'll get fast food almost every day since I'm in a hurry, and it's usually a pretty bigger meal, so I'll usually go with like almost a hamburger, french fries, and a pop.
Okay. And then you said for dinner you eat it closer to 8 o'clock because you're busy all day, you get home late.
So usually I'll have a big meal, make myself maybe something like chicken or basically some sort of meat with basically like mashed potatoes or a veggie.
Oh, okay.
So
That sounds great. Did you say you were married?
no, I'm divorced.
Okay.
So
So you're preparing your own meals.
exactly.
Okay. Can I offer you some suggestions for your diet in
Yeah.
terms of the day? Okay, so what you want to think about is eating large meals. That usually accounts for some of the gastric reflux that it's having. So you said that dinner is your biggest meal,
Yeah.
and that's because you have very little time during the day.
Yep, usually that's my biggest meal and my meal with fast food. And then I
Okay.
usually don't have anything in the morning except for
Okay.
coffee.
Okay.
So,
And then also, something that could help is spreading your meals out. So taking the larger meal at dinner. I know it's hard because of your stress and during the day, but if you spread out your meals during the day with multiple small meals, even starting earlier during the day, eating a little bit for breakfast, you don't have to have a lot. But what would you think would be easy to make for breakfast in the morning that could be fast?
probably an easiest thing for me would probably be something like a couple pieces of toast with maybe like avocado or basically some peanut butter on them, just to give me some food in my system before I actually go off to work.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm sure it could help you feel better throughout the day.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully, not make you as hungry as lunch.
Exactly.
Do you think it would be hard for you to pack a lunch just so you wouldn't be eating that fast food during the day?
Probably not. I could probably wake up just a little bit earlier just so I could get a good meal packed, so I can skip the fast food and stop doing that as well.
So you think you could wake up earlier to make your lunch?
Exactly.
Do you think it might be even easier if you made it the night before so you don't have to worry about it in the morning?
I could do that. That would be a lot easier because I'll have more time to make it during the night than I will in the morning when I wake up.
And so you also said that you have you're pressed for time because you're driving to all these clients. Do you think you would be able to eat a smaller meal before 8 o'clock and maybe not as close to dinner time, because that can also promote gastric reflux, is eating closer to bed when you lay down?
I probably could. I'd probably bring like almost a protein bar or yogurt with me when I go to work so I can have a little snack before I actually get home, and that will help with a bigger meal towards 8 o'clock.
Okay, so it sounds like you have some good ideas to do this. Now, what do you think would be a barrier to trying to do any of these changes in your life?
Only barrier, the biggest barrier I would think of would be the barrier of time. Since I get home so late, I don't really have much time to make the meals or pack stuff. And when I get up in the morning, I don't have a ton of time, and I'm usually at work all day, so that'd be the biggest barrier is time that I have. So.
Okay, so again, time is a big thing in your life, and it's totally understandable. You're very, it sounds like you're successful, you do a lot of work. So how motivated are you, or actually, what goal do you think you could take away? It could be one, it could be multiple. What do you think you could do specifically in the next week or two that would help?
Probably the biggest thing I could do, I could just start packing my lunches and drop the fast food, so I'll start making my meals later at night, so around 9:30, 10, I can get the meals packed and ready for the morning, and then basically give up on that fast food I was eating.
That sounds like a good start. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to do this goal? How well do you think you'll be able to do it?
I'm probably at like in 7, because I'm pretty motivated, because after you talked about basically the risks of what can happen, kind of helped me figure out that there actually is some downfalls and some basically negative health effects to the heartburn and gastric reflux, instead of it just being a pain that I get after every meal.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm pretty motivated to get this taken care of.
That's great. So to end, I want to review what we went over today. So you have a very busy schedule, which is understandable, and you want to change because the pain from a heartburn after every meal is just too agonizing to go through the day. And you know that it can affect your life later on, and you want to change that. So your goal is to pack your lunch and then take away that fast food lunch. And you think you can do this week?
Yes, I think I actually can do this. It should be a pretty easy goal if I actually put my mind to it and do it.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for coming. Have a nice day.
you too. Just over 10 minutes. Hi, George.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Sit down, please. Okay, how was it getting in this morning?
Well, it was pretty cold. I don't like the cold that much. I had to wear a big coat today. It was
Yep.
different than normal.
Usually that's Michigan's weather.
Mhm.
Okay, so what brought you in today?
Well, my doctor told me that I had high triglycerides and high cholesterol, and I didn't really know what it meant that much.
Okay.
I didn't know why I should care about it.
Okay, so before we get into anything else, what's your home life like?
Well, I'm a retired teacher. I have 3 kids, but they're all grown and out of the house by now, and I have 2 grandkids. They're both in elementary school. I get to see them a little bit because they live somewhat close, but yeah, I have a good amount of time during the day now that I'm retired. I can do tasks around the house, things like that, like cleaning and things like that. Because my wife is still part-time.
Okay.
She works at an office.
Okay, so it sounds like you do have a lot of time on your hands, so that does help out.
Yeah.
So you said you had high triglycerides and high cholesterol.
Yes.
So basically, what high triglycerides are going to be are in excess of fat, basically on your body, and basically the easiest way to fix that, I'll go over that, but you're going to actually have some negative health effects that can come from both high cholesterol and high triglycerides. You could actually have obesity, and you can also have heart disease are the biggest things if you don't take care of the high triglycerides and high cholesterol that you have. So basically, what's your 24-hour day like of eating?
Well, I wake up pretty early in the morning because that's what I'm used to. I used to be a teacher, so I wake up at around 6:30, 7. I have a cup of coffee and read the newspaper. After that, I wait a bit after I finish the newspaper. I make myself maybe pancakes or a bowl of cereal, and then I get my day going. But just recently I had my a knee surgery, so I haven't been able to get up and get out like I used to. But then my day just goes. I read some more, and then I hit lunch. I make maybe a sandwich or 2. And have some chips and maybe a fruit or a vegetable. And then my wife gets home later in the day. She makes dinner. It has some type of red meat like steak or something like that. Sometimes I might have chicken, but yeah, mostly there's a meat. And then I have beer every once in a while, and then yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so it sounds like you do have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you only have coffee right when you wake up in the morning. Is that right, or do you have anything else with it?
Yeah, I just drink the coffee right when I wake up, and I wait a bit after I read the paper to eat breakfast.
Okay, and then you said you make pancakes, and what was the other thing you said?
I have a bowl of cereal. Sometimes I just switch off whenever I get bored.
So what you can actually, you mind if I give any suggestions?
No, that's
so
fine.
What you could do is, instead of basically having that big meal of pancakes or cereal, you could actually have a little bit of something right before you eat that with your coffee to actually make that meal a little bit smaller, because that will, if you have that big meal, especially the pancakes, it will basically, you'll have the problem with the high triglycerides that you're having. Then you also said you just had knee surgery, so you don't actually get a lot of physical
No,
exercise?
I've actually gained a lot of weight since that. I've gained about 20 pounds.
Okay, so since you can't really do much physical activity, but what you could do is, another suggestion is basically if you wanted to basically go for a walk or something,
Mhm.
just so you could get out of the house and do something with more physical activity involved. That'd be another thing that you could do to help with the high triglycerides.
Mhm.
And also with the high cholesterol, you said that your wife cooks.
Yeah,
Most of the meals?
she comes home and prepares the meals and then we eat it.
And you said there was a lot of meat when she cooks those meals?
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 times a week we have red meat.
Okay, so what you actually could do for that is, since you're having a lot of red meat,
Mhm.
that is going to be pretty high in cholesterol,
Mhm.
you could actually maybe switch that out with some fish
Mhm.
once in a while so that you're not having these high cholesterol levels.
Okay.
So what are some suggestions, what are some goals that you were thinking of that you could implement?
Well, you mentioned that I could eat something small with my coffee. Probably like a fruit or something, just so I can feel a little bit less hungry when I eat breakfast. So I eat a smaller meal then. Um, you also said for dinner that when we're having red meat, maybe not have as much. Is that what you said?
Yep, not as much red meat, kind of stick with more fish and
Mhm.
sometimes a little bit of chicken, but if you have too much of that, you could
Okay.
also get some high cholesterol levels as well.
Yeah, I like salmon a lot. Would that be okay?
Yeah, you could implement that in
Okay.
instead of some like almost hamburger, steak,
Mhm.
stuff like that instead.
Okay.
So, and then what goals? Which ones would be more realistic to you with the barriers that you'd be facing?
Well, I think a hard part about it is going to be adding the little bit of fruit or something in the morning. I think that'll be hard for me because I'm used to just drinking coffee and not
Yeah.
focusing on anything else and just reading the paper. I think that'll be hard. I think that eating less red meat might be a little easier for me and my wife because she won't have to cook as much of that food. Maybe we'll have something else instead.
Okay, so it seems like your main barrier is going to be the fact that it's going to be harder to do something now. Is that right?
Yes.
So the fruit part would be harder to implement that in the morning.
Yeah.
So what you actually could do with that fruit is you could actually maybe cut it up or clean it but that night, the night before, and actually put it in the fridge and save it for the morning to give you more time. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to prepare anything. You can just take it out of the fridge. Would be something you could do.
Yeah, that does sound good because I honestly don't like to eat a whole apple off I'm used to just cutting it up and having it in my lunch like I did at school because I put it in a little container for myself and that was much easier to eat.
And then also with the dinner thing, what you could do is you could actually go grocery shopping with your wife and basically you pick out some of the foods you're going to have for that meal for some of the nights so that you're not always taking in all the red meat that she was preparing.
Oh, okay.
So that will help a little bit with that.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because I know that sometimes she gets tired of cooking the same things over and over, and I'm sure she would be open to finding new recipes and things like that. It would be probably fun for her, maybe.
Exactly. And how motivated would you be, are you, to get your high triglycerides down and your cholesterol?
Well, since you told me the negative effects of it and the fact that I have plenty of time because I really don't have too much to do during the day, I can make up tasks, but I could change pretty easily. I want to be healthy and I want to live long with my wife, and I think I'm probably 9 out of 10 motivated.
Okay, so to recap, you have a lot of time because you're a retired teacher and you basically your wife cooks for you most of the time. You wake up in the morning and you don't have a meal right away. You have it later on and you have almost 2 smaller meals before your dinner.
Yes.
And then also you don't get a lot of exercise, so you're not getting a bunch of physical activity, which is basically going to give you the high triglycerides that you're having.
Okay.
And the goals you were thinking of, cut the fruit up before you go to bed in the morning, before you go to bed, and then in the morning you can just eat it while it's already prepared for you, and also going grocery shopping with your wife to pick up some foods that you would actually be willing to cook instead of her, so you can actually get the high cholesterol down instead of having the red meat all the time. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think I can really do those things well. I'm really motivated.
Okay, sounds like it. Sounds like you will be able to do it, and thanks for your time here. See you next time.
Okay, thank you.